So you went from e-bike to this 125. What's it called?
Trail, like a
CT 125.
Yeah.
But what you really need is a 250.
Well, I know now.
Why don't you get an electric unicycle?
You've seen me ride a unicycle.
Can you ride it?
No.
You ride it better than I do. I just collect them. You can ride them. You know what we should get? I should have. I think about this all the time. I should have bought them. Ford Motor Corporation, like actual Henry Ford, had a bunch of those front big wheel bicycles.
Yeah.
They still make them. They're about
They're
about $7,000. I can't remember what they're called. And there's like 3 sizes of them. You get different size front tires. But actual Ford, Mr. Ford, had like 12 of these things. And we were at an antique show in Nashville, and a friend had a booth there. And Mike from Pickers, he had these things somehow. And he wanted to sell them as a set. And I couldn't buy 12 of these fucking things. I'm like, I want one. And at the end of the show, he's like, hey, I'll sell you this one. And I'd already just spent like more money than I'd ever intended to spend. And I'm like, oh, I'll get one someday, you know? And I feel like they're actually pretty difficult. No.
You telling me we didn't have
the big front wheel?
I thought we had a big front wheel. I thought you had a big front wheel in the garage that you were trying to make everybody learn how to ride.
No.
Jesus.
I remember you remember when we moved in, and you guys were jousting with the carpet rolls.
That must have been a different timeline.
The alternative timeline, because I don't have one of those.
I specifically remember a big wheel.
There was a time where it was us out there trying to ride a unicycle.
No, I remember unicycle too, but I feel like there was a little teeny wheel and a big wheel, and John was like, nobody can even get on that thing.
Have you seen the old-timey pictures of like the women? Like you used to go to the zoo, and the zoos were not like they are now. Like you used to be able to ride a kangaroo. There's all kinds of like women in those big, bonnet dresses with their corsets and shit and their umbrellas, parasols, riding. Used to ride around the zoo on ostriches.
I've actually seen the girls on the ostriches.
Yeah, I want to go to that zoo.
I bet I feel like that it was a cool novelty. Like it was a way to get people to go to the zoo.
Yeah, you probably had a lot of poop on you. Probably.
But I also feel like a lot of people were getting hurt.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
A lot of people were getting hurt, and
imagine how much better things were without regulations.
You can only sue so much until they're like, yeah, we need to stop letting these crazy motherfuckers get on the ostriches.
Well, they probably didn't have lawsuits then.
No, I'm sure that there was not a like it was a. There's the ostrich if you can get on it and survive, or kangaroo. I know that they did kangaroo boxing back then.
Yeah,
where you could get in the ring.
And bears.
They put gloves on them, and they would let the kangaroos punch you in the face.
And bear. What do you got all over the table here?
This looks cold. It's just water.
Careful, man. Is that you might have?
It's all over.
Is this Total War? Is this Total War leaking?
It could be Total War.
Does your hand itch?
Not yet. It could be the Total War.
Is your pecker poking out?
Not yet.
That's still how you know if it's
still an innie.
So what's going on this week? Anything on your mind?
No.
Have you been watching any social media that I've been sending you?
No.
Okay, let's.
I don't have enough time.
Let's do the intro music. So there's some things you might not be aware of.
Yeah, man, I'm talking about.
What? Do we even know what podcast is?
38.
38.
Podcast episode 38. Pulling
38,
the thread.
Yep.
So are you aware? We're doing lockdowns again.
Yeah.
Are you aware that it's actually in motion?
Yes.
And the weirdos are putting the costumes back on?
Yes. Because of it's because of the Supreme Court. The reason why they're doing it, so people are wrongly thinking that that they're doing these lockdowns because of
election.
Because of the election, but no, we're not close enough to the election for it to matter. Actually, lockdowns now will harm the election because it just shows how incompetent the current administration is. That's not why they're doing it. They're doing it because of Chevron deference. They're going to lock down the country. They're going to lock down the country while the Supreme Court is talking about Chevron deference, which is these three-letter agencies' ability to interpret law. So what they're trying to do is force the Supreme Court to go, okay, fucking FEMA can lock down the country, or okay, the EPA can regulate without Congress authority. That's the big thing that's happening right now is the court case is actually going to happen in October, and it's about Chevron deference, and it's whether three-letter agencies can interpret law or if they have to follow the letter of the law. So far, the Supreme Court is on the American side. They're with the people, and they're saying that the three-letter agencies do not have the authority to interpret law, that only Congress can create laws, and those agencies' jobs are to enforce the laws that Congress creates.
I feel like Congress wasn't mad at what the ATF did. Congress was mad that the ATF didn't ask them to do it.
Well, no, it's not just necessarily the ATF, because it's all the agencies, whether it's the EPA, whether it's the ATF, whether it's the Food and Drug Administration.
Do you know the history on Chevron deference?
Well, not really, but
I don't either. I mean, I've seen little bits and pieces.
Yeah,
I hear it brought up in these gun YouTube channels. You know, the gun law channels.
Because it's about interpretation, meaning. Does that agency have the? If I say it's illegal to, if the Congress enacts a law that says it's illegal to have machine guns, and they have a specific guideline of what a machine gun is, can the ATF interpret that and include other things? Right now, that's what they're doing. They interpret that law. And then they include other things, such as the pistol brace or the FRT triggers or whatever. They're trying to encompass more things within the law that were not specifically named in the law. That's Chevron.
Bump stocks.
Yeah, that's Chevron deference. It's the same thing with like the EPA rules, where they make up rules that are not within the law. So right now, the Supreme Court is really saying no. That those agencies, their only job of those agencies is to enforce the laws that Congress enacts, not interpret shit, which is true. No federal agency should have the authority to interpret laws because they are not elected officials.
Can the White House come out and say, like, I hereby declare?
I mean, they can. There's a certain amount of stuff that they can do, and that's through presidential
decree.
There's certain things that he can do,
Isn't that what Trump did with the bump stocks?
No, Trump didn't do anything with the bump stocks. That's kind of the misnomer, and unfortunately for gun people, because most gun people are
because that's what I hear all the time when I'm like Trump, and they always he banned bump stocks.
Okay, here's the thing that most people don't understand, and because they're ignorant of how the world works, Trump knows how the world works because he spends a lot of time in courtrooms because of his projects. Trump actually did everybody a favor with the bump stocks by forcing it back into the courts, by making the courts actually have to look at what the bump stock is and all that. That's why the bump stock's legal now.
Is the bump stock legal?
Yes, it's they got thrown out of court.
Did they ever get to a point of enforcement on the bump stock?
I don't believe anybody.
Was anybody ever arrested?
I don't believe a
stock?
single person has ever been arrested or adjudicated because of the bump stock.
Is the bump stock company back in business?
I don't think so. Because here's the reason. Here's the thing about the bump stock. Here's the thing about the bump stock again that people don't. The gun zealots don't want to tell you is. The bump stock was a 1980s technological device in order to make you seem cool by shooting kind of full auto.
It's like the Thigh Master.
Right. But
let's get physical. Isn't that her?
Yep.
Can't you do the same thing with your belt loop?
Yes, you can. You can do how you hold the rifle, you can most rifles will shoot that way. But since the bump stock thing happened, so many smart people have looked at how the trigger works that the trigger packs that people are making, the force reset trigger packs, the FRTs, stuff like that, those trigger packs are so much better than a bump stock that you would never, even even if all the bump stock companies were still working, there would be no reason to buy the stock because the trigger packs are so much better.
Is FRT a company or is that a type of trigger?
It's a type
both,
of trigger,
right?
It might be a company and a type of trigger. But what I'm saying is the trigger packs that are out there are so much better than that 1980s goofy bump stock shit that you wouldn't even buy. There's no reason to buy one. I mean, if you're in the swamps of Louisiana and living on a houseboat, maybe you buy a bump stock because they're probably like $20 now. But if you've got some money, you would buy the trigger pack because the trigger packs work so much better.
What's the trigger pack cost?
I think they're anywhere from I want to say they're in the $200 to $500 range.
How many parts are in them?
Most of them are complete drop-in kits.
It just drops into a receiver?
It just drops in.
So you just pull out your trigger
you pull
and
out
stuff,
all your trigger
and
stuff.
your safety and shit.
You put that in there, and then Franklin Armory, they make one that's, again, understand all this.
This is clean, like nicely machined and everything.
Oh yeah, they're legit parts. Understand all of these things are gimmicks. They're all gimmicky, but some work better than the others. So like Franklin Armory, they have one where it is, you pull the trigger, it fires, you release the trigger, it fires. So if you play with it, if you play with it and figure out how to slap the trigger right, you'll get full auto fire. I mean, not real full auto fire, but you'll get rapid shots fired out of it.
Accurate?
Much more accurate than a bump stock. Way more accurate than a bump stock. And then there's like the force reset. I like the idea of the force reset. I haven't played with one, but where it forces the reset so that your finger is always ready to pull again.
That's cool.
So I mean, there's ways around, but
they had all that shit for paintball guns. I'm pretty sure. They've had all that in paintball guns.
Yeah.
For like forever.
Well, there's actually you probably have seen this with the competition paintball guns, where they have the double paddle.
Yeah.
There's a company that makes that for AR-15s now.
We had a dude come out and take class at TAC Response. Shit, dude, 15 years ago, and he was taking like rifle classes, but he's like sliding and like doing all kinds of acrobatics and not like acrobatics, but like he was fast, like ridiculously fast. Like, what's your deal? He's like, oh, I'm a pro paintballer. I'm like, what's a pro paintballer? He's like, oh, let me show. And he had a company and he was like the fucking paintball dude, like in the world. Like he was Arnold Schwarzenegger of fucking paintball. And dude, he was fast, like fast. And I think he said he had never fired an AR-15 or anything, never done any like actual training. Yeah. And he came out and like, dude, he was visible on the line. Like he was the dude in class. Yeah. You can get, You ever play paintball? Do you have paintball guns? So somebody brought it up the other day, and I'm like, oh, man, that sounds cool. But, man, we moved here with paintball guns and spent thousands of dollars getting them running again. And then we bought more paintball guns when we were going to shoot Tyler. And you know where they are? Still in the box. You know, not a one of those paintball guns will fire. Like, you would be cheaper. Like, anybody that's got paintball guns sitting in the garage, you would be cheaper to just go buy new paintball guns
or just rent them.
Just rent them. But it's so much fun. Same with airsoft. Like when we were going to go shoot up Tyler with airsoft, we had to we go to shoot him and the guns didn't work. So we had to go to Nashville that weekend and buy batteries and buy chargers and we don't use these batteries. You need these LiPo. But $1,000 later to shoot Tyler for 5 minutes.
It was worth it.
It was so worth it. You know who messaged me yesterday?
It was worth every penny.
You know who messaged me yesterday?
Was it paintball? Oh, it was paintball guns.
We shot them with both.
No, but it was paintball guns where Bill the plumber went up and shot Tyler.
We had to stop him. Yeah, he showed up too.
Bill the plumber shot Tyler execution style. Tyler was not happy.
Yeah, I had to pull him off. I had to stop him. He said, "Hey, bub." He said, "Miss you, bub." That's all he said on Monday.
Yeah, well.
I said, "Miss you too. Show up, fool."
You know where we're at.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just
take a trip to West Virginia.
No, let's just get all the paintball and airsoft guns out. Spend a day getting them all ready. charged up, ready to go. Lay them out. Maybe Tyler will just show up.
I have a couple bottles. I have a couple bottles of Hyperlean still.
Maybe that'll bring him in. Oh, we could sprinkle Hyperlean out there. Oh, shit, that'll bring... You know what? Just at the bridge. Just give me a bottle, and I'll start dropping pills like every 20 feet. Oh, that Hyperlean will bring him in.
Yep, like a bear.
It'll bring him in.
Like a bear. It'll be dangerous, though. It's like those pigs when you get in those circle traps with them.
Oh,
sometimes a pig cuts your guts open.
What's Hyperlean?
It's a pre-workout tablet. Maybe there's something else in it. I don't know what's in it, man. Like, you couldn't take a full one. Like, if you took half of one and didn't work out, you're like, yeah, I probably should get up because I'm going to die. Like, it was legit.
Yeah, it was. Did it get banned? No. So you can still get Hyperlean?
No, I just have it still.
No, but I mean, could you still
Justin hasn't been doing
he hasn't done that? But I mean, could you search it out? Is it something in the world?
I mean, I don't know what the active ingredients in it were. Crystal meth.
No, sure.
But I mean, if the FDA is talking about banning an on-the-counter product, you should go buy a bunch of it right now because whatever's in there works.
Yeah, whatever's in there is lizard buttholes.
So the lockdowns are coming back. They're saying full lockdown by October. Mm-hmm. Alex Jones said,
how do you?
Yeah, if it's so dangerous right now and this thing's in Canada crossing the border,
but
why are we waiting till October?
How do you schedule a lockdown?
So Alex Jones said TSA whistleblower came to him last weekend, said, here's the deal. And he said that TSA employees are wearing masks right now, and next week, 2 weeks, all passengers traveling on airlines are going to be required to wear masks again, and they're implementing social distancing. So I happened to have somebody that was flying back from Vegas on Sunday, and I said, hey, just take a note and tell me who is wearing masks. And she was here last night, and I said, hey, did you happen to notice anybody wearing masks? She said the TSA employees, when we came through the checker and the people that were patting you down were all wearing masks. She said nobody else was. None of the stewardesses, there were some people working for the airlines wearing masks, but nobody on the plane working was wearing masks. So that jives. It goes right in line with what Alex Jones had said.
The question is, are they wearing real masks?
No, they're wearing the same bullshit.
Are they wearing grandma's homemade panty masks? No, or are they wearing real N95 masks?
They're wearing the fucking. And again, I didn't ask
because I saw that this week, first time.
There's people out fucking. You're costumers. Yep. You were seen, and maybe you're sensitive to it, right? Because we're listening to this. But there are more people out wearing masks right now. There's 100 colleges through the United States that are doing the social distancing bullshit again. It's coming. They're ramping it up. So YouTube, well, let's back up. So Event 201, where they war gamed in 2018, they war gamed what this was going to be.
This is getting totally stricken from the record.
It's all public. Well, I'm heading somewhere with this.
Because we're talking about.
I'm trying not to say it.
The hoo-hoo.
So
the hoo-hoo.
So they war gamed this, and then it played out just like they said. Mm-hmm. So they just did another Event 201. Weird that I can't find the name. I've got about 90 minutes in searching the internet trying to find the name of this event. When you search on YouTube and you put in new Event 201, there is a new video up that was actually uploaded by the World Health Organization, and it's a 3-minute video, but there's very little talking. You have to read the subtitles on it. But it is uploaded by the World Economic Forum. YouTube at the same time came out because I'm listening to Andy Frisella's talking about this a lot. Tim Pool's talking about it a lot, like all yesterday. All his videos and shit were about this. And then the dude from The Quartering was speaking about it, and he seemed to actually be ahead of Tim Pool on this thing. And he came out with YouTube because the new Event 201, whatever it was, the majority of what they were talking about is how do we suppress anti-speak? How do we suppress detractors from it on social media? How are we going to do this? And what they came up with, and YouTube's new guidelines are that you are not allowed to say anything that goes against the World Health Organization, not the Center for Disease Control this time, not the White House. You have to, if you say anything contrary to what World Health Organization puts out, that's a strikeable offense.
Whatever.
So
It's all bureaucratic bullshit anyways. There's nobody at the World Health Organization that are actually doctors.
doctors, yeah.
So it's all bullshit anyways.
Yep.
The thing I would be concerned about, is you have a lot of people, Bill Gates included, he is a ringmaster, that are in a death cult. They're in a death cult to the point where they feel like in order for their lives to be better on this planet, they have to kill a bunch of human beings.
I believe that.
Right? They're in a death cult. So this is the thing I would worry about. What I would worry about is
this is what Frisella is saying.
This first one
was to desensitize you to the real one.
Was to desensitize everybody to the real one, and then they're going to release a real virus that actually has when you think about the first one, it was supposed to have, they were talking 5% mortality rate.
Yes, this one's supposed to be 40.
And it didn't even have a 1% mortality rate.
They're calling it Sears/Cove. I've heard several different names.
Let's just be clear.
And they say that it targets young children.
Let's be clear. If there is a 5% mortality rate,
you're not even going to have to do. They're not going to have to do lockdowns.
They're not going to have to lock down. They're not going to have to worry about podcasters or anybody talking shit about it because there are going to be bodies on the streets. If there is a 40%, if it's 40%, the world's over. Like, that's the thing that I don't think these knuckleheads like Bill Gates, and I don't think they understand, is at 40%, the world is over.
Well, they've all been building bunkers in New Zealand.
Again, you can build a bunker.
I'm with you.
You can build a bunker wherever you want. When you come back out, it's like a billionaire who builds a bunker and has 10 Navy SEALs protecting his bunker case into the world, and I'm paying you guys.
When he gets there, you're not coming in, motherfucker.
If the world really does take a dump, your money doesn't mean anything. Those Navy SEALs are going to eat you alive. They're going to be living like kings in your bunker while you're either sweeping and mopping the floor, or they're just going to kill you.
Is that because Navy SEALs are the best troops? Isn't it true that Navy SEALs are the best special operations guys there are?
They're definitely not the best special operations guys.
What are they the best at?
I would say anything that has to do with underwater exploration.
Man, I totally set you up for this. I thought you were going to say they're the best at moving gym equipment through the desert.
Nah, they don't. I mean, come on. They do move some gym equipment, though.
So they saw Eli. Eli was out with a unit attached to some Army guys. And there's a convoy moving through an area where there should not have been a convoy moving. So they end up somehow intercepting, capturing whatever happened with this convoy. And he's got like some night vision, but he's like, these guys have night vision on like I've never seen. We're like, well, who the fuck are you guys? Who the fuck are you guys? What are you doing? What are you doing? And it's a SEAL platoon or a bunch of SEALs moving trailers full of fucking gym equipment and that's what they were moving. That was the cargo, was the gym equipment in the middle of the fucking night.
It's not SEALs. It's not necessarily just SEALs. The U.S. military moves an exorbitant amount of dumb shit through combat environment. Like one time, this is in Somalia, we have to do a full mission profile combat patrol to the airfield. So we have to go from we have to go through the secure embassy grounds to the airfield, which is, I think it was 10 miles all through bad guy country. Right. And they were looking for people to man machine guns. We weren't part of we were part of JSOTF, but we were just the sniper element. And
you mean they were looking for U.S. soldiers, or we were like picking up little
no, it was
Somali kids, and like,
it was
here's a JSOTF.
It was a JSOC. It was a JSOC mission to move stuff to the airfield. And so they were just like, hey, who's available? And me and Chris happened to be on our down day because we do 24 on, 24 off. And so the gunny came over, the Marine gunny who was part of the JSOC, and he's like, hey, does anybody want to go on a combat patrol? And I'm like, can I be on the M60? And he's like, sure. And so I'm like, yeah, Chris, let's do it. And
and that M60.
Yeah, man. I love the M60. So I get in the back of this Humvee, fucking it's hindsight's 2020. It was probably the dumbest thing ever. But I get in the back of this Humvee, and we do a combat patrol to the airfield, and there's a C-130 gunship there, and that's who we're delivering supplies to. So we're delivering stuff to the C-130 gunship truck, or this C-130 gunship. Surprising how little room is inside that aircraft once they put all the guns.
So is that a Puff the Magic Dragon?
Yeah, it's a Puff the Magic Dragon. And the guys, the crew chief comes out and gives the warrant officer a 105 shell that they had fired as a little souvenir. And I'm like, fuck, I want one of those.
Did you ask for one?
No, I didn't ask for one.
Would he have given it to you?
I'm sure they would have, because it's just trash. It's just Air Force trash. They don't want it. So we do the whole thing. We do the combat patrol. There's some shenanigans that happen, a fucking grenade. All kinds of weird shit happens on the thing, but we don't make any contact with bad guys. And then we have to go back. And I'm like, those are the same boxes. I go, those are the same boxes you gave us when we got here. It's these boxes that you get. And he's like, yeah, it's the care package boxes. And I'm like, we came down here for the care package boxes? And he's like,
no,
yes.
We came down here for that shell.
No, he goes, yes, we came down here to deliver these care package boxes because they are in, I don't know what airbase, but it wasn't, they're not assigned to Somalia. They're assigned to some like Djibouti or somewhere else. They're like, yeah, they didn't have any shaving equipment. They needed shaving cream and razors
equipment
so they could get their face shaved on. And I'm like, we drove all the way down here for that? And he's like, yeah. So yes, the military.
Would you go again knowing it?
Oh yeah, I mean, because I had the M60.
Do you have an M60 now?
I do not.
If you could have any belt fed, what would it be?
That's a tough one. That is a tough one. I would love an M2. M2 it's the king of the battlefield. I carried a saw, so saw has a special place in my heart. I joined the Marine Corps to shoot an M60. See how it gets a little confusing? I joined the Marine Corps to shoot an M60, and they didn't have them by the time I got there. Or they did. They still had the Echo 3s, I think. But I was left-handed, so I couldn't be a machine gunner.
But that's like guys going in the Marine Corps. They're going to be recon, and then they find out about Force, and then they hear about MARSOC, and then they fucking find out about the CIA.
No. It's more like guys saying they're going to join the Marine Corps and be Force recon, and then they end up a truck driver.
Okay.
When you go from I'm going to be a machine gunner to
I'm posing this as
here's a saw, bitch.
I'm posing this as you went in to shoot the saw, or you went in to shoot the M60, but then you found out about the saw.
I didn't find again. I did not find out about the saw.
Correct.
So I went
because it didn't exist.
No, it existed. I went through all my training. So because I was left-handed, they're like, you're either going to be a mortarman or a rifleman. And I'm like, fuck, I don't want to be a mortarman. I got lucky. I was a rifleman. And so I joined the Marine, literally on my thing at MEPS. It's like M60 machine gunner.
You wrote that?
Yeah. Cause they're like, what do you want to do in the Marine Corps? I want to fucking carry an M60. And so.
Can you get that paper?
I have it.
You have it?
I have it.
The original one?
I have all my original.
It just stays in your file?
Just stays in your file. And the Marine Corps went digital a long time ago. So they started giving those back. So I have all my original paper. I still have they used to give you a leave and earnings statement every month, like stacks of these. Every month you'd get this paper that would say what you get paid and all. I have all that shit.
So what would you get if you could have any belt fed?
Probably right now, probably a saw, I guess.
Full auto or semi?
I mean, if I could get if it was legitly legal,
yeah.
I would get a saw. Yeah, full auto.
Are there any transferable ones out there?
I believe there is, because the saws started pre-86.
Why don't you set up a corporation and just do dealer transfer stuff so you can have one on your books?
Because it's not worth it.
What M60 would you want?
The original pig. I would want the original long barrel Vietnam.
But you'd want it gold plated, right?
No, just regular old rusty Vietnam.
I know a guy that could probably get you one of those.
They're expensive, man.
But I know a guy that probably knows right where there's one at.
Yeah, but they're expensive.
I'm going to buy you one day.
Okay, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
It's probably gonna be harder to find the Echo One than the fucking newer ones.
Well, maybe I don't. I mean, I don't know. Because
Actually,
there's a lot of
it's
those.
not Echo One, right? Because the Seals had M60 Echo. That was like the fourth or fifth one, right?
Yeah, they had 3s and 4s, I believe. I think the Marine Corps even. I want to say, and I'm probably wrong on this, that we even went to a 5, where it was super short and had a pistol grip and everything. But
The Seals had that.
That was
one.
the end of. That was the end of the game there. Then the 240 came in.
Was there a mark designation for the M60 for the Navy?
I don't know if there was or not. I don't think I would think that there wouldn't be a mark designation for it because M60 predates those programs. So, when the Navy SEALs, the SEALs are very good at they're very good at keeping old things around, right? So they're very good at having I am sure
I was in their weapon cages.
Yeah.
And they had Uzis.
Yeah.
And Mac 10s and battlefield pickup AKs and
yeah, I'm
beat
sure
up.
I'm sure you could go down to fucking go down to the team house and find Swedish Ks or the Smith & Wesson 76s that they ripped off Swedish K for. I'm sure you can find all those old guns because SEALs are really good about keeping that old stuff. It's like, for example,
well, they do it
the
for
Stoner,
host foreign weapons.
Yeah, the Stoner
familiarization
63s.
too.
The SEALs were the ones that held on to those the longest, even though it's weird. The SEALs held on to the 63s, those Stoner machine guns, the longest. So they had them in use, meaning you could go out to Nyland and shoot that machine gun for, maybe you still can. I don't know what they have in their cages, but they held on to them the longest. But the Marine Corps had the most of them, except ours were sitting in Albany in fucking shrink wrap doing nothing, where the SEALs actually used their shit.
But they deployed them like Vietnam. They were using those things, right?
Well, the Marine Corps was the test bed for the Stoner system. So they had the belt fed, they had a carbine version, and they had the full length rifle version. And an entire infantry battalion went over with all that. They kind of like the belt-fed version, mixed reviews on the rifles, and then that battalion came back, and all that shit went into storage. And then the SEALs picked up the belt-fed machine gun. I think they even got some of the rifles, and they used the shit out of them.
And that was Eugene Stoner.
Yeah, that was Eugene Stoner. Because the problem with the Stoner system is it's a good machine gun. It was a good idea. It was a great idea, but it took a little more technical proficiency, right? You needed to pay attention to the weapon system in order to keep it running, and most general officers at that time period believed that everybody in the military was dumb, so that they wouldn't have the capability to run those systems. Where your UDT Navy SEAL guys in Vietnam, they're technically proficient because they're already using scuba and shit like that. So you would assume that they are more technically proficient. So it was easier for them to keep those machine guns and those rifles going, where I'm sure, competent authority in an infantry battalion, you could do it too, but it just wasn't feasible.
Is the company still around?
No, that Stoner hasn't. I think that was the end of an era. He didn't make any more guns after that.
He just didn't have any children that were doing it.
I don't think so, because the believe it or not, it's the biggest collection and the biggest expert on Stoner machine guns and Stoner rifles in the United States is Knights Armament.
Yes, I've heard that.
They have the biggest collection, and if you want a question answered about how this or that work, they're the guys to talk to.
They have they have a lot of collections.
Yeah, they have a big collection, but just as when you're talking about something as rare as that gun, they're the duty experts, really.
It's
I don't know why. I guess Knight did make a. I'm sorry, Reed Knight did make a belt fed. They do have a belt fed that they're pushing right now. Anyways,
I wonder what it was like back then within gun companies, having been like, we know Barrett, and then having been at like Tim LaFrance's shop. Like you could walk into Tim LaFrance's shop, and aside from seeing guns, you wouldn't know that you were in a gun shop.
Right.
Down by, I don't know where, kind of close to SeaWorld when he was down there. But having been in other places, I wonder what it was like then versus now. Probably a lot less restrictions, so there was a lot more innovation.
Less restriction. Yeah, definitely less restrictions pre-86. Because that's the thing that kills.
Plus, there was no somebody program. Here's a program. Fucking put this SD card in here and boop it. They used to have to, like when I went to Jeremy Horton's. When I went to Jeremy's house when we first moved here to his, the shop. And I don't know if Jeremy has CNC now. For guys that don't know, Jeremy's a knife maker, but you had to turn this wheel and turn this wheel, and I think it was called an end mill or something, or they had like a multi-machine. Like if you had this machine, you could build anything, but you had to have skill. Like you had to, be able to run that thing.
Yeah, it.
And I know I'm taking away from CNC operators, but I mean, come on, guys. You know as well as I do that a lot of guys in a CNC machine shop now are there in case the machine starts making terrible noises in the middle of the night.
I will tell you this. I built AR-15 lowers on a CNC machine. Now, again, on this particular CNC machine, it was only a 2-op operation. So you had to pull it out and flip it once and then push another button. So I pushed 3 buttons and made AR-15 lowers. There is no fucking way I could have done it on an end mill. There's no way I could have done it like
with cranks
and shit. This is just,
man. I see. We drive
like
past.
If the program. The reality is with CNC machines. Sorry again, operators. It's the program. The guy who's making the program to make the piece is the pivotal part in that operation. And maybe it was the same way with end mills where it's the drawing and the measurements. But I still think that it got a little funky because there was a lot of guns. There was a lot of guns made back in the day that they could create guns, but the parts weren't interchangeable. There was too much. There was a lot of hand fitting because the numbers just weren't right.
When we would go to the flea markets on Tuesday, remember buying chickens and bullshit? We drive past a recycling place, and when we're heading to Kentucky, I think we drive past there, and when you look now, there's hundreds of those old fabrication machines sitting out there in the rain, and I'm like, man, I want to go rescue those. Those are getting rained on. I'll just put them in the building. Like, I would never. We would never plug them in. But I feel so bad that they're just sitting out there in the weather.
And then the other thing, the other problem you have is even if you're like, you know what, I'm gonna set up a shop. I'm going to get all that old shit because that old shit works.
You have to balance it.
But your problem then is, where do you find an operator? It's the same thing you run into with the sewing machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 70-year-olds out there that know how to use that shit, but the younger generation don't know how to do that.
We've hired 3 or 4 more people, and every time we get a young person, they come in, they're like, are you hiring? I'm like, yep, let's put you on this machine right here. And Martha or Betty shows her how to sew. Really, Miranda does. And at the end of the day, a lot of times they'll sew for a couple hours. They're like, all right, well, I'll be back tomorrow, and they never come back. But if they make it to the end of the day, I'll ask, I'm like, how's she do? She's like, oh, she can totally do this job. I go, and? She's like, no, she don't want to do this job. She's looking all around. She's not like,
yeah.
And we did. We had one work here 3 weeks that went fucking high order yesterday. Just fucking always some shit. They just don't have an interest in working. Like, we could totally teach them the job.
They don't have a reason.
Probably not.
They don't have a reason.
Yeah.
It's that 75%. 75% of their life is taken care of. This is just I'm going to get the grandkids an extra thing at Walmart kind of deal. Mm-hmm. But why should I put in the time and the effort?
This one walked up to me and said, you're going to be mad at me. I'm like, what's up? I have to leave. What's going on? I have to go to the doctor. I go, yeah, that's what you said on Friday. And then you didn't show up to work yesterday. Why? I'm like, It's not my fault I'm a single mom. I go, it's time for you to not. I actually said, it's time for you to not work here. And that's when she said, it's not my fault I'm a single mom. I go, I'm not firing you because you're a single mom. I'm firing you because in 3 weeks you haven't worked 20 hours since you've been here.
And 100% it is your fault that you're a single mom.
Good point.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Either you weren't doing the things necessary to keep that relationship alive, or because he could be a douchebag, you picked him.
Well, she showed up, like, when she came to get the job. I'm like, who's the dude in your... That's my boyfriend. I'm like, did you not think you were getting the job? She said, no, I was just filling out an application. I go, you want to work, right? Send him on. Does he have a lot? Can he drive your car? Send him on his way. Don't ever bring him here again. He doesn't come here. Because it's always... I mean,
it's always dude
you've
problems,
seen it.
yeah. It's always dude problems.
And then it turned into, you're a fucking piece of shit. I go, hey, remember when I hired you and I said, how come you're not working at Scepter up the way? And you said your boss was a piece of shit. I go, I actually saw this playing out. I go, when you go to get your next job, hold back on the piece about how your boss is a piece of shit. I go, because I almost didn't hire you over that because I knew that I would be it would just be the next one. It's just a fucking trip, man.
What are you going to do? World's ending.
I need some more 60-year-olds. I need some more 50-year. But I mean, we do.
Wait, speaking of 60-year-olds,
Linda?
she back?
No, Linda's been back.
Yeah, I know. I saw.
She'll message me every day. She's like, I'm going to be there tomorrow. And then I'll get a message like something happened, you know? The last message I got was, hey, I'm going to take off 3 weeks because I'm going to, I don't know where another state or something. She's in a position where she can take off and go, you know, with her son and his wife and stuff and go do things. She shows up a day. We never know when it'll be. She shows up, gets a ton of shit done, just sits there. Like, I have to get in front of her and wave my hand. I try not to startle her because she just can't hear me. I think she has, you know, earbuds in or something. But yeah, we see her every now and then, and she gets around. And
what a pay nightmare. Why would you? I mean, I could see like, personally, I could see John coming in. I'm gonna hit it hard for like 3 weeks, and then I'm gonna go see the grandkids in Omaha for a week.
Yeah,
that makes sense. But just like coming in for how do you even pay?
I'm gonna let Linda I'm gonna let her do whatever she wants to do.
I know. Linda works hard.
She was the second person we ever hired and worked here longer than Melinda's still here.
I get that. I'm just saying, even from a her perspective.
Yeah.
Do you wait until you have, like, when she comes in like that? Do you wait until you have like 2 weeks?
No, we pay her.
Just pay her
whatever it is. Because it auto drafts out. I mean, we.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So it's gonna pay her.
Yeah, we have it set up like.
Anyways.
I think our employees get free checking and something else if they use the same bank we're at. So she was doing payroll in there when I walked out here. So on Wednesday we do payroll, and then Thursday morning the money's in their account.
Yeah,
we still have girls that can't. I think they burned their bank accounts or whatever, so they can't get them.
Yeah.
So we still we give them checks. They're printed checks, but I know for a fact some of them go in cash at these gas stations, and they charge them 10%.
10%.
Fucking.
But again, that's the price you make for making bad decisions.
I did it for a long time where I would do that just to have cash right away. I mean, there was a long time like.
But you're logically in your head.
Yes.
So you're logically in your head taking that into account, which is still a bad decision.
Yeah.
But you're going, I'd rather have the cash in my pocket than.
Yep.
I
mean, I don't remember
when were
back
you doing
then.
that? San Diego?
Well, in San Diego, remember when we'd go places like we'd go buy DVDs and shit? That was all cash because I had 3 bank accounts with Wells Fargo. So I could pull out $300. I could pull out $900.
So,
and then in the next morning, I'd pull out $900 more. So I'd have $1,800.
So when John needs an extension cord, and you go to Walmart to buy a extension cord, and he's like, "I need an extension cord. Let me get all the extension cords that they have." So he buys He's always done that. Like he's always like we never went somewhere. We never he crazy DVD guy. God.
Thousands.
What happened to all those
I have them,
movies?
every one of them.
Yeah. So it was never, oh, look, Saving Private Ryan came out this month. Let me get this and we'll watch it. It was always like, well, I don't want to come back to Costco. Let me get this whole row right here, and then we'll have something to watch for the next month.
What we do is, it was Wednesday or Tuesday.
I think it was Wednesday.
And we would go to Costco first thing in the morning and buy the DVDs at Costco, because Costco opened, if you had a business card, Costco opened at 6. So we'd go there, and then we'd go to Einstein Bagels up the road and get breakfast. And then we would go to Best Buy, which opened a little later. But Best Buy had more movies than Costco was going to have.
Yeah.
So we'd get those, and they were just whatever I was interested in. And we used to, I've played them all. I can't say that I've watched them all.
I don't believe it.
You're the one that started that.
I bet this asshole, I bet if you go find the collection and you open the totes, that there's going to be movies in there that still have the wrap around them.
So I have so many now, and I'm not able to like catalog them in any manner. So like the other day I was telling Jake's son about the movie Really Big Fish. And then I went and I actually went and looked at the movies, and I'm like, I don't have 5 hours to find this movie. So I just put it in Amazon and bought it.
Right.
And now I have it. Another one. So
now you got 2.
Yeah. That one's still in the wrapper.
In case one breaks.
Well, because I used to picture, like, as a child, I thought I wanted to be a mercenary or something, right? And I kind of always thought I was going to be a survivalist, right? Because we didn't have the word prepper back then. And I remember watching, like, Red Dawn and Rambo, right? So I remember I saw Rambo and Red Dawn both in the theaters, and I'm like, oh, that's probably a good idea, right? So at, like, Sarah High School, I had an M1 carbine that we were carrying around in John Wazalowski in his Bronco, right? So I had the magazine in my pocket, and Mr. Valley, the physical science teacher, he knew that he's like, oh, I have an M1 carbine too. And like, we had a conversation about it. It wasn't a big deal. We had guns at school in the truck. So I'd always pictured myself moving, because in the back of American Survival Guide, you could write to these real estate companies.
Yeah.
And they'd send you a packet of like 20 little perspectives on the property with a real grainy matte 3x5 picture of
log
the property.
Cabin.
And there was no log cabin, but you could buy for $10,000. You could buy between 20 and 60 acres of property. So I always pictured myself in Idaho in the mountains with a cabin. I didn't really picture whether there was going to be a wife or a woman or I never got beyond that I was going to be in this cabin and I was going to have a Chinese diesel generator, because that was on the back page of all the American Survival Guides, right? And it was a huge gen set, bigger than this table.
Yeah.
They were blue.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's what was going to power my system. And by golly, I was going to have a TV and all the VCR tapes. So I was like,
DVDs, yeah.
I was taping all kinds of fucking TV programs, and like, because the world was going to end someday, and I was going to have TV there, and I was going to be so far out there, and then the DVDs. And I was at the apartment behind the shop, and I was sick. I had been sick for like a day or two, and you brought me or gave me for my birthday my very first DVD player, and you gave me a football movie of all things on any Sunday or something. And I remember I was so sick that thing, it was running, I fell asleep, and then I would wake up maybe every few hours, and it would just be playing the loop. And it played for like an hour, like a whole day or something. So subconsciously, that whole loop was in my head. But you're the one that got the very first DVD player.
Because you got to be modern. Tapes are antiquated.
The DVD players were so new that you couldn't even get porn on DVD. Like, there was no even DVD porn.
Are you sure?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know where you would have got DVD porn, but I mean, it wasn't at.
Because
you remember going to movie stores when they used to have porn at movie stores in the backside? There was none of that.
Because all formats that we use because of porn. So beta, remember how it was VHS or beta? Beta was actually a better medium. It recorded things better, but porn went to VHS, and that's why everything was on VHS. Same thing with DVDs. Is there were laser discs at the time? Porn.
There still is laser discs.
Porn never went to the big 7 or the big 12-inch laser disc. They went to DVDs, and that's why we use DVDs. It's how porn is actually done more for the furtherance of TV watching than anything else.
I wonder where the demarcation, because you used to go to like Walmart, well, even before Walmart, right? We had Jimco and Fedco and Kmart. And when you go to the movie section, or the magazine's a good example, there would be Playboy and Penthouse and Hustler, right?
Yeah.
Right out there at eye level for everybody to see. And then the stores that carried it, they started like blocking it off. Or you'd go to a liquor store in Tirasana. We'd go to a liquor store because they had
that was
these big ice pops, and we'd buy the ice pops there. And I remember as like a 5th, 6th grader, you could see, oh my God, there's Playboy, right? And you knew what Playboy was because they were talking about it on like Happy Days and stuff. But I'd never actually seen inside a Playboy.
I think 90s moms, like early 90s, late 80s, 90s moms, because that's when they were like going after rock and roll, and so
Yeah,
I'll bet
Tipper Gore, and
I'll bet that's when that stuff got pushed out of like regular newsstands, regular.
they were going after Ozzy Osbourne, and Dee Snider had to go before Congress.
Yeah. So I'm sure it was 90s moms. That's the problem with the problem with white moms is you need to create chaos in their life. Otherwise, they just start attacking things that it's like, what are you doing? Don't you have anything better to do? You should be in the house making cupcakes, but you're out here complaining about.
Think about that too.
The color of the curbs.
Do you remember the first Playboy you ever saw? Or Penthouse or anything like that?
It would have been a Playboy, and it would have been. I mean, I don't remember the first one I saw, but it was.
Where did it originate from?
I believe it was Steve. No, it wasn't Steve's house. It was David Fields, I think.
Somebody's dad.
Yeah, somebody's dad had it,
Yeah.
and it got taken from underneath the mattress, and then.
Yeah, my dad had a chest, off of a deployment locker that had like 2 dividers in it and 3 dividers. It was white, had a big red cross, and then they'd put like some fake wood grain contact paper on it.
Right.
It was full of that stuff.
Yeah.
I assume it was mom and dad. I'm assuming dad didn't just have that in the bedroom, and mom was like I would assume they both knew it back then.
Yeah, but he was. Playboy was different back in the day.
Well, these were Penthouses.
He was looking at them for the articles.
Of course.
The
Yes.
stereo equipment, like you'd have all the nice stereo equipment in there.
Yeah, they had
the Corvette. What the new Corvette was.
They had Penthouse and a thing back when Letters was actually in Penthouse.
He was looking at Penthouse, he was just a straight up pervert.
And then they did have a membership. If you remember in Fashion Valley or Mission Valley, they had a Playboy club down there. It became It later became Black Angus. I do
remember they had a Playboy club down
and they had a membership there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like it's just a trip. It's the moms attacking, Playboy or whatever, based on however they got spun up at church, but they're still doing the same thing at home.
At night, yeah. Well, we don't want to contaminate our young ones, our youths.
The 2 Utes.
Our youths.
Do you remember how old were you when you learned your first cuss word?
I don't know, but I was in kindergarten when I flipped off the.
Did you know what flipping off meant?
I'm gonna assume so because it was a. I wasn't in kindergarten. I was in 2nd grade.
Yep, I knew by 2nd grade that.
I don't know if I. Okay, again, how the mind works. I don't know if if it was like, hey, that means fuck, but you knew it was bad because they were daring me to do it. They were like, the other kids were like, I dare you to flip off the grounds maintenance guy was turning on the sprinklers and shit at Rio Seco. And so they were like, I dare you to do it. So just because it was a dare, there had to been there had to been a concept that it was bad, right? Because they were daring me to do it. And so I did it. And then I had to go to the principal's office, and he pulled out the biggest paddle. It was probably as big as a sign, biggest paddle on the planet.
We didn't have maybe we had paddling, but I never got paddled at a school.
No, I don't. I think
you
by the time
your ass whipped when you got home, but you didn't get spanked
I
at school.
actually think by the time, which is it's crazy because my dad was not he was not against corporal punishment. So when he pulled his belt off, you got your ass whooped.
Did you ever try to dodge it and get hit on the legs? Or on your hand or something?
Yeah.
You did?
you got your ass whooped. But
Does your dad still come over and spank you?
the
You're going to get, you don't even have to get punished. You're just somehow going to get hurt when you go over to help your dad. Somehow a car's going to fall on you, a chain's going to break and cut you, and something's always going to happen to you.
but they would get permission slips from your parents.
Yeah.
On whether you could be spanked or not. And so, I had to go to the principal's office.
I heard of it, but I never saw one.
Yeah, I had to go to principal's office, and he had his, regular principal chair behind the table, and then the chair you sat in, which is kind of weird. So the chair that you sat in facing him was this one of those big ass plush, leather chair like you would see in a smoking lounge or something. It was a nice leather chair.
And you sat in it while they spanked you?
No, you sat in it while he was counseling you. And so he would he would get in his drawer and rummage through his file cabinets. He's looking at you and he's like, "Oh, you know what you did, right?" And he's telling you why it was bad. And then he would pull out that piece of paper and he'd be like, "Right here. This is right here. Right here is where your mom signed that I can paddle you." And he gives you the whole thing on what corporal punishment was.
That's like paddling.
There was rules of what he could do and what he couldn't do. And then he would put the paper down, or at least I say he would, as in he did this all the time. This only happened once, and I never got in trouble in Rio Seco again. And then he went over, and he had a fucking cabinet. It was like now that I look back on it,
He's a torturer.
Now that I look back on it, it was like the best BDSM cabinet ever, right? He opened this motherfucker up, and it had paddles and whips, and I mean, it had anything you could think of just dangling in there, smacking on the wall. And he pulled this paddle out. I'm telling you, John, this paddle was as big around as a tennis racket, solid wood with nothing but holes in it. Right? And so now again, I'm in second grade, second or first grade. I was young. He pulls this.
What'd you do to get in trouble?
I flipped off the groundskeeper.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Right? Flipped off the groundskeeper. So he pulls, he makes me stand up, and like, I don't know if I don't remember if I was crying, but I am sure a tear was shed, because this paddle, I'm telling you, was as big as a sign. He pulled this thing out, and he made me stand up, and then he walked over. So I'm standing up, and I'm kind of facing the back of the room, so the chair is right here. He walks over, hauls back, and fucking hits that chair so hard. Hits that leather chair so hard, makes that evil smack because it's leather, flips onto its back. And he looks right at me, and he's like, "Am I ever going to see you in here again?" And I was like, "No, sir. Never, sir. No." And I'm telling you, that worked, because I stayed in Rio Seco the whole time, and I don't think I ever, well, maybe once in 8th grade I went to the principal's office, but I never went in there again, so I kind of think that it would be interesting, but I bet they never paddled anybody at Rio Seco. I'm sure that's what he did every time, was the look at how I'm going to destroy this chair, and you're never going to be here again. And I'm sure everybody was like, "Nope, don't want nothing to do with that." And then he hung his paddle back up and
I would
closed the cage.
I would think that the hope is that you go back and people are like, "What happened?" And you're like, "Oh, it's so bad. Don't ever," like a deterrent,
Maybe. I don't.
Or
I
did
don't
you go back and be like, "He didn't even do anything"?
I didn't. No. I wasn't that cool. I'd have been like, when I went back to the room, they probably didn't even ask me, because I am sure that when I went back to the room, I was like, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure.
Who reported you for flipping the dude off?
Oh, he was looking right at us.
So he came over and grabbed you and walked you to the principal's office.
He was looking right at us and shit. So, it was one of those, it was dumb little kids, He was looking right at us, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But again, I am sure that everybody was like, "Oh, God, the principal really fucked him up." I probably had a black eye and shit because I was crying so hard. It was traumatic. I was young. But then the crazy part is, it really shouldn't have been that big of a deal. Because again, like I said, Tony used to whip ass. Like, my dad used to whip ass. it was a traumatic experience when but I don't, you know what? Maybe not by that age. I don't think he did when I was that young. I don't think I really got the good ass whippings until mom and dad were divorced. That was my mom's MO.
Why you call him by his name and not dad?
Well, because, he's dad, but Tony whipped ass.
Got it.
Tony whipped ass. But I think.
Was it justified?
I think, no, never justified. No. It could be something as simple as the TV was up too loud. But I think the real thing that made him scary was that mom, after we got divorced, after mom and dad got divorced, she would call him up for ass whoopings. Like so dad would show up and he would just be like,
she don't want to be with him, but she
time
wants
to get that ass whooped. I'm like, oh shit. When he would come over, it would always make it weird. Cause I'm like,
is he here?
What did I do? What did I do? I did something cause he's here. He's going to whip my ass. But yeah, Tony was some ass whooping.
So he didn't come pick you up on the weekends.
No, not. It was very rare. It was very rare. You know, after Dad moved out, initially, and after he initially moved out, he would. I don't know if he would come pick me up. I just remember being over at his place. So for the first year, every couple weekends, he would come get me, and then it just stopped.
Fizzled out.
He's the original Trailer Park dude. Have you seen the show?
I love Trailer Park Boys.
So, I can't think of his name.
Stop sucking your teeth, man.
The dude with the drink?
Yeah. Rant, Leahy. Mr. Leahy.
No, not Leahy, the dark-haired brother.
Okay.
You know how he's always got a brown drink in his hand?
Yes.
My dad would always have a brown drink in his hand. Like, always. He'd always have that cocktail glass, always have a brown drink in his hand.
Was it glass or Tupperware?
It was glass. I never, this is the crazy part. He always had that cup in his hand, and I never saw my dad drunk. But he was drinking. Like, that's why they got divorced.
That's how Jim Triplett's father was like that.
Like he'd be driving the state car. He'd be driving the state car because he worked for the state, the green state car down the street. He'd have a glass in his hand. Christmas time, he'd have a glass in one hand, cigarette in the other. Those were wild times back then. Wild times.
Crazy.
That's why I don't like black socks.
Why?
Like when you guys were all like, black socks. Only cool people wear black socks.
That's not quite how it went.
Because of my dad. That's all he wore.
He wore black socks.
Black sock. I can't think of the name of the brand. It's still around.
I didn't know they had black socks.
But it was black. It was black socks.
I think it's just because we were poor, so all we ever had was like white.
The gold
socks.
Stitch. The gold stitch over the toe.
And like I was wearing socks that didn't stay up. Like the taller socks never stay up still, but then they especially didn't. You'd put them on and they weren't really the shape of a sock anymore.
Yeah, those are girl socks, Brandon. 10 years ago, they'd have a tassel on the back of them, and you'd be like wearing them in your tennis outfit.
They'd have that little poof thing. You'd have been a cheerleader.
It's time for the bathroom.
All right. What's going on? He had to go pee before I had to.
Because you haven't been drinking.
I've been drinking all. This is my fourth.
I'm already 3 deep.
Been drinking all damn day. Why are we talking about Georgia?
Because apparently it's cloudy in Georgia right now.
It's cloudy here every day. When's the last time you actually saw clear sky?
Pre-war.
Pre-war?
Yeah, pre-big extinction, mass extinction.
So they're actually talking, the White House is talking that they're going to be doing climate lockdowns. Have you heard about you've heard about all the 15-minute cities and shit, right?
Yeah,
they're doing it in Hawaii. They've signed all these things. They're all over the place. You probably have one close to you.
The problem is, here's the thing. This is why the Democrats are so stupid, or the left is so stupid. Why talk about it? Why write it down on a piece of paper, right? Bill Gates. That's
a good question. So I ask that all the time, right? Why do they?
What? Like they could.
I think you just have super, super rich madmen.
Yes.
That are literally like, it's a game to them. Like they project. It's not that you didn't catch them for it to work for Satan or their black magic or whatever to actually work. They have to put it forth. So it's like, I'm going to tell them they have to wear masks. I'll take your bet and I'll one-up you. I'm going to tell them they have to put a light bulb in their asshole when they go out in public. Oh, that'll never work. And there's $1 billion wager or something on it.
Well,
I'll trade you 17 little children.
for example, the 15-minute city.
Yes.
Right? The 15-minute city. If the 15-minute city is going to be this glorious thing of the future.
So, yeah.
Let's just, okay.
Well, it's being sold as a glorious thing.
Let's just say, right? Because you can, why not just build it?
Well, they are building them.
No, but what I'm saying is 15-minute cities kind of already exist. There's places where you can go right now where it's eat, work, and live all in the same building and shit
they
like
just
that.
they don't have the poles that pop up to keep your vehicle from leaving, and they don't have the gates that have to use facial
recognition. But what I'm
recognition.
saying is you don't have to, for the Lemmys and the mask wearers of this world, you don't have to make it a big deal, right? If they, for example, I don't know.
China has it already.
Imagine Camden, Tennessee, right?
Yes.
If Bill Gates came out to Camden, Tennessee, and he's like, this could be the perfect place, and he breaks ground and he builds a 15-minute city for, I don't know, let's just say 5,000 people.
Dude, it could be all of Camden. I mean,
no, but I mean, just saying, let's say he builds this city that will hold 5,000 people, and all the needs of the people will be met. It'll be full in a day. All the Lemmys they'll be like, what? And if he provides it the way they are saying, meaning, you're going to have all the Wi-Fi you want, you're going to have all the food you want, then people will come. So it's weird that they are announcing this shit and they are making it a fighting point.
What they're not announcing is the limitations. So you have them over in Europe already. You have them in like England, UK and stuff. You have them in China. There's a lot of videos of people going, and they're only allowed, like, you can only leave your zone like 5 times out of the year, right? Now you can leave more. You have to buy your credits from other people. So poor people can't afford to leave. I can pay somebody and then use their credits to leave the zone. So there's this chick, I was just watching this chick on, I think it was on Instagram or somewhere, but she had gone to China. Maybe it was on YouTube. And she was talking about, I went to China and I transferred money on, because there's no cash. You can't use cash. So she transferred it onto this thing, but her facial recognition shit wouldn't work. So her cousin had to go to the grocery store with her to be able to walk for the bar to come up for her to be able to go in the grocery store and shit. It's like the rides at
okay, but
you can't access none of the shit.
But that for a Bill Gates for a world, that scenario is not necessary, right? Because again, you said the word poor. Bill Gates and the cabal that's actually trying to take over the world, they got no room for poor people. That's who they hope all die in the next pandemic the poor people.
Are you familiar with the 5 Mile city they're building in Dubai or wherever?
Yeah. It's not going to work.
It's in the desert. It's like they're building it.
Yeah, they're going to build it, but it's not going to work.
But they tout it as being to lock people up. Like if you wanted to sequester those people in Saudi Arabia, they don't need to put you in this fucking, multi-million-dollar thing where you get sunlight all day long and stuff. They sequester plenty of people. People go into Saudi Arabia all the time to work, and the first thing they do is pull your passport. There's tons of videos.
Oh, yeah. They're terrible to foreign workers.
You got 24 people living in one hotel room. I mean, they're typically like Indians and stuff like that. A lot of Filipino people work in over there as housekeepers and stuff, and a couple times a year, one of them gets eaten by a tiger. All these dudes have like tigers and lions and shit.
That's the downfall.
And they have to pay out to the family. Like, this dude's tiger ate this woman, and he had to pay like $1.5 million to her family.
That's the downfall. It's really their biggest problem. Their biggest problem is financially they can do it right now where they can import all their labor, but because they have a no work mentality and they import all their labor, they don't have the capability to, for example, if the Filipinos decided that because of the war with China that they have to go home, if they reappropriate themselves back to home, fucking Saudi Arabia's fucked. Like, they are fucked. They don't have any nurses. They don't have any doctors.
I don't think
They don't
Saudi
have-
Arabia lets them go home. They've pulled their passports and shit. They literally can't travel.
Maybe.
There's
But
videos.
what I'm saying is, if that's the problem with that system. That system is it's a hierarchy system, and
there's videos of
they don't even have the reality is when Prince Boobaloo Fufu, when you see him walk out onto the tower and he's like, this is my creation. No, it isn't. It's 42 engineers from Europe. They don't have the technical capability to make any of that infrastructure. So,
and it seems awesome to visit. It seems incredible to visit.
I'm sure it's awesome to visit.
We have some friends that have been over there, go over there every now and then. But there's also U.S. citizens who've gone on vacation and had some infringement or infraction, right? There's supposed to be no sex out of wedlock over there, but there's a huge nightlife. There's tons of prostitution. But if you get caught or they want you for something else, then they charge you for that. So there's a husband and wife that are basically like on house arrest over there, and they show up to court and they talk for a couple minutes and they're like, okay, we're going to adjourn this. And they set it back for 1 year. So they're now on house arrest. They've been there for like 2 years, have been to court twice. They convene, nothing happens. And then they're like, okay, we'll set this and then boom, they're still on house arrest. Can't leave. Everything has to be delivered to them. I guess they're working off the computer somehow, but it's just a trip to see the other side of it.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like if you really want to create these 15-minute cities, that there's a way to do it and then make everybody like, that's a good idea. Why not?
Well,
they just don't do that. It seems like, because again, what do you talk about when you talk about 15-minute cities? You're like, you can't leave. You're in jail. Well, they don't have to, if they do it right, they don't have to put up barbed wire. Like, if they do it right, if again, you think about this current generation, they don't go outside. If you give them unlimited internet, you fucking the little chocolate pellets fall into their room every day. They're going to peck at that.
The cricket pellets.
I
hear what you're saying.
Leave.
Because
they're never going to leave.
Because we have people that will get out of county jail and will immediately, every winter, they will do something to get them put back in jail so they're not, cold in the winter. We don't have homeless shelters. Like, you hear the stories. I remember my grandfather would get arrested every now and then, and he'd go in there and basically just play cards in jail.
I mean, if you think about it, think about every person you've seen wearing a mask lately. All they would have to say is that 15-minute city is germ-free. They would never leave.
I don't think they believe that. I think that's become their identity. So Frisella's take on this is this new thing. It's going to, they have, just like you said, they put forth this thing and it didn't do anything. And now they're going to put forth this other thing and it's actually going to affect children. So what they're going to do is, just like when Trudeau and over in Australia, they set up, there's these huge COVID camps. There's a ton of urban exploration dudes running around Australia and a couple of different countries right now. And you have these enormous camps that have just been abandoned. There's weeds growing through the asphalt and shit, but they're still sitting there, right? So Frisella's take on this is that because you had Trudeau going, what are we going to do with these people? They're killing grandma. They're the spreaders, right? They're going to catalog, right? We've already been cataloged. Every police department has a Homeland Security officer, right? How do you get people to do all these corrupt things, right? Our sheriff here, good dude. Like, I like our sheriff. I like our law enforcement. We have a dude who's Homeland Security. I've met him. His name's Mike. I believe his name's Mike. Nice guy. Avid Trump supporter. Avid Obama supporter. To this day, if you see something come about Trump, he talks about Obama. Okay, we're friendly at Walmart, but he's the Homeland Security officer. He went to the training in Jackson 2 years ago that the FBI, and then the FBI whistleblower put out this list. What is a domestic terrorist? Oh, here's some signs that you're a domestic terrorist. You have an American flag. You fly a Don't Tread on Me flag or have a Don't Tread on Me license plate that the state of Tennessee will actually issue you, right?
Right.
So those types of things. He's cataloging. These are the guys that meet this criteria. He might not even see it as one day we're going to round these dudes up, but they have a list of who you are.
Yeah, but
so they're going to put this thing out, and they're going to take, and it's actually going to affect children, and the people who are screaming, they're going to light the pitchfork. They're going to have light the torches and get the pitchforks, and we're going to have to round you up. So that's what Frisella thinks. They're going to take you. They're going to fucking identify you, catalog you, and then put you into these camps. Because his take is they have to win this election. They have to do this because they know they are going to hang for treason.
Not here.
Okay. Elaborate. Go ahead.
Well, again.
What do you mean not here?
Not here. It doesn't.
Not here in Tennessee?
Just not. Okay. Could they start doing that somewhere in like, see, the problem for any of that overreach, okay, the real problem for any of that overreach is even Brandel has inside of him, he has a spirit of freedom and an idea.
Even Brandel, he's sitting here.
He has a spirit of freedom inside of him. It's deep way down in there. But we continue to have these fears of Nazi Germany where we're rounding up a specific type of person and putting him in camps. It's not going to happen in the United States. It's not going to happen. There are too many guns. There are too many guns. The first train car that comes into Camden is going to get blown the fuck up. It's just the way it's going to be. There's too many guns. There are too many Americans that understand that, and they will cross that line when that day comes. And that is why when we talk about FEMA, everybody talks about FEMA camps. Has anybody ever been put in a FEMA camp? No. No one has ever been put in a FEMA camp. As a matter of fact, there's stories right now about the director of FEMA being arrested because of the shit in Hawaii. Has anybody ever been put in a FEMA camp? No, because it creates an idea that we still hold on into the United States, and that's about Nazi Germany in World War II. We still hold on to that. Even liberals hold on to that.
You and I hold on to that.
No, even liberals.
Hold on.
The minute...
I'm talking about our ages.
No, I get it. Again.
Right? If you find a 16-year-old kid right now,
John,
he doesn't know about the Holocaust. They don't teach it anymore.
John, the truth of the matter is they are more conservative at that age now than they have ever been.
That's what all the polls say. The polls say that all these kids that are seniors right now.
We are looking at a tidal wave.
They're going to turn 18, be able to vote, and they're going to vote for Trump.
We're looking at a tidal wave because liberalism is dying. It's a dead art, and it's because these guys just went fucking crazy. It's because the left went total nuts, and they have not had a single workable policy since they took over. Everything they've done has been to destroy this country. So, again...
Are you seeing the interviews with the Capitol State, the dude that's in charge of the Capitol State Police?
No.
He's interviewing with... who's the dude that just got kicked off of Fox? What's his name?
Carlson.
Tucker Carlson. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just did a full-blown interview with Tucker Carlson, and he said, I called 63 times requesting National Guard. Yes. I was refused 63 times. At the same time, same timestamp, there's some video of Nancy Pelosi talking about this, and he's like, I could see the National Guard across the street, and they wouldn't clear them to come in. He requested SWAT from other agencies. He's like... And Tucker Carlson's like, why? And the dude wouldn't fully say.
There's actual video.
Yes.
There's actual video of Capitol Police SWAT team sitting on the sideline. Trump supporters going over and be like, hey, are you motherfuckers going to stop this shit? And them just sitting there. Because they were told not to do anything about it because the Democrats needed this to be a bigger thing than it actually was. Again, I'm just saying that, when... It's not going to go down the way people think it's going to go down. There's not going to be fucking buses that are going to show up and they're going to put the non-maskers in the buses. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. They do not have the capability to enforce that. Do they have the capability to wipe out 40% of the population? Yes, they do. That's the thing that you really need to worry about is they don't have to put you in a camp.
Yeah, these guys are saying it's coming out of Fort Detrick. The Russians are saying that they took down, I think 60-some fucking biolabs in Ukraine.
I believe they are already, but the State Department has already admitted they had 85.
Russia
labs.
is reporting that the United States is going to use another one of these virus wars on its citizens.
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me one bit.
That's what they're saying right now. Now, of course, media is like Russian disinformation.
Yeah. Well, if it starts in Ukraine,
well, they're saying it's already showed up coming across the Canadian border. It's already showed up in Canada right now, and I think they said Mexico.
Yeah, but it can't be again. In order to create the chaos necessary, right? If it's 2.0, right? If it's just 2.0 and it has a similar mortality rate, nobody's putting masks on.
Right.
You
got
literally
people right now saying they just had COVID here.
You're literally going to have bodies in the streets.
Right,
okay?
Which the big thing in the beginning, which fizzled out. I don't know why people didn't keep saying it. Like, why are there no sick in the homeless camps?
Well, there was sick, but again, it wasn't the thing that everybody was pretending it was. What we were doing in this country is we were pretending that it was something that it wasn't. It was the fucking common cold. That's it. And the solution, the government solution, has been more lethal than the actual thing it was. So that's why I'm saying they failed on a lot of fronts. I don't know if they realized that the solution was going to be worse. Maybe they thought that the solution would actually work. I don't know if any of that is part of the truth, because the problem is they've made so many skeptics now that people are going to start laughing at people wearing masks. Unless, of course, again, if you got on the news, when people are talking about, oh, it's crossing the Canadian border or it's in Mexico. Now, if it was legit and they're like stacking up bodies in Montreal like it's cool, then people will then the response, that's the time for a response that is a little bit overwhelming, right? But to say that it's going to cross the border and people are going to, who gives a shit?
That was always the question, right? If you have people falling dead, people are sick and they're getting dead, why did we wait? We're going to have to do lockdowns. We're going to have to do lockdowns. This thing's real. Why are we waiting 6 weeks to do the lockdown if it's actually fucking real?
Well, because
because it wasn't.
No. Here's the gist and the problem of that. Okay, the gist of the problem is this is a global world and a global economy, and so it used to be, for example, I'll just use the flu as an example. The CDC tracks the flu all the way around the world. So it'll start at a certain point and they can see it marching its way to the country. Okay, so they follow the flu all the way around the world. When it gets to this side of the world and starts to go back to the other side, it mutates, it turns into a little bit different. And so that's, for the longest time, that's how you got your flu shot. It was best case. It was
right. What it was most likely to.
It was a guess, right? The CDC would follow this and they'd be like, we think that's what's going to show up in the United States. Take your flu shot. It was a guess. Okay. But the problem now is we are such a one world globe that a lockdown is useless because it gets here so fast, right? It gets here so fast. They would have been better off to not lock anybody down and not have everybody wear masks so it could burn out quickly. But what they were doing was they were making it last longer because it took longer to get through society because some people would get it and then some people wouldn't get it. So, I mean,
so they have a booster now. They've got this.
Oh yeah, they got
the White House is pushing this whole thing.
Yeah, they got a bunch of dumb shit. But why would you get it?
Yeah, correct. Do you take a flu shot?
No.
Have you ever had a flu shot?
I have had flu shots. Yes.
I had one flu shot 10 years ago, probably, because there was a doctor that was around TAC Response all the time, and I trusted what he was saying, and he swore that we should take this thing, and it's from a chicken embryo, and it's I don't know what he said. It's a dead virus. You can't possibly get sick. I had that thing. Was sick. The sickest I've ever been in my entire life for 7 days was the last time I had a flu shot. Coincidence, maybe, but I was sick the like day and a half later.
People misunderstand. People misunderstand what a flu shot is for. So, it's not
Right, it's so that you get sick.
It's not so you don't get sick. The flu shot, the origination of the flu shot was to minimize how many days you were sick. So you were still going to get sick. You were still going to get the flu, but it would minimize the amount of days. So it wasn't, again, here's the kicker. Getting the flu shot had nothing to do with your health. It had everything to do with how many days you would be out of work. So getting the flu shot was a way to reduce the amount of time that an employee would be out of work so they could go back to work. That's why the flu shot. Because here's the real truth. We don't make anything that's better than the current immune system that our body has. There's no thing that we jab that is better than our immune system. Okay? So when we're talking about flus, cold and virus, we took millions and millions of years to adapt this system in order to fight those things off. And part of fighting those things off is catching it. You have to catch it in order to fight it off. It is the reason why flu has to mutate in order to survive. If it did not mutate, it would be dead, because our system, we get it, the system recognizes it, the system fights it off. That's what an immune system does, and you continue on. But the flu shot itself was strictly to reduce the amount of days that somebody was sick so they could go back to work.
You ever feel like you're getting sick?
Yeah, sometimes.
What do you do?
Nothing.
So Amanda will be around people we're not typically around, right? Well, or a big crowd of people. And we'll come back and she's like, my throat kind of hurts. I'm like, yeah, my throat kind of hurts too. The next day she'll be all stuffy, her throat hurts. I'm like, get Q-Certain, take zinc, up your vitamin D, and I'll do the same thing. Especially like as soon as I feel it, I'll push all that in. I'll take Q-Certain with some food. A couple hours later, I'll take 2 zincs with some food, chelated zinc, and then I take vitamin D every night. But I'll double it. Instead of taking 2, I'll take 4. And the next day, I won't think anything of it because I don't feel it. My throat's not sore. My nose isn't running. I don't feel sick. And I'll ask her, I'm like, do you feel better? Or she'll ask me and I go, I guess I do, because I don't feel bad anymore and I can knock it out. And I just feel like my immune system is pretty good. With a little tiny boost, I can kick so I think, I don't think that I don't get sick. I think that it fizzles out. It's just not there.
Well, this is going to get us banned. Again,
well, I mean,
your immune
it's
system,
total war probably.
It could be total war.
It's probably something from that kind of
But your immune system is no different than your bicep.
Really big and flexed and used a lot.
Well, you have to exercise it.
I do.
You have to exercise it, and if you
I did 400 reps this morning.
If you are constantly in environment, if you are constantly putting yourself in an environment where your immune system doesn't get worked because you're over medicating, and then you're going to get sick all the time faster, because you're an immune system. There are people out there with a deficient immune system, but your immune system has to be worked. It has to be able to recognize those things and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to whip its ass.
You just need to have more sex.
Maybe.
I mean, it makes everything better for a man. A man lives longer if he has lots of sex. He's happier if he has lots of sex.
Definitely happier.
His immune system is better if he has lots of sex.
Maybe immune system. I don't know.
Yeah. You just have to have more sex.
Okay. Well, then let's make a plan. Brandel, more sex.
More sex. Brandel looks pretty happy. I mean, healthy.
I'm putting it on the list.
He's adding it. You want me to write you a workout plan, a sex plan?
Actually, all you have to drink is Diet Pepsi, because they put a chemical in there that makes you happy.
Okay, did you hear about this chick they caught? She had stabbed some, I think it was her dude, stabbed somebody to death, right? So they find her. She has blood all over. Cops come. They got her at gunpoint. And she's like, okay, I'll talk to you guys. But first you got to give me a Diet Mountain Dew. So the cops, they go get her a Diet Mountain Dew. She immediately, and she has blood all over. She immediately douses herself with this Diet Mountain Dew, and the cops are wrestling with her, trying to stop her. Apparently, whatever's in Diet Mountain Dew, aspartame or whatever, it actually neutralizes the DNA in the blood. There's something in there, but it didn't work it was working, but they were still able to get whoever's blood was all over her.
Well, I mean, come on. If that's your desperate move, hey.
Well, you're already a crazy
You're
person.
still going to jail.
If you've killed this person, you've stabbed somebody to death and have their blood all over you.
It's not like they're going to be like, oh, shit. Oh, the blood's not on her anymore.
She's not like a Dexter level serial killer.
I guess we just have to let her to go.
Did you ever watch Dexter?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I ever saw a single one of them.
It's pretty good.
How about Sons of Anarchy? Did you ever watch that?
Yeah, I watched Sons of
Anarchy. I don't think I ever saw one of those.
I watched the SOA, yeah.
I watched Yellowstone.
I watched Yellowstone, some of it.
I bought a DVD the other day for like the first one in a year or two. 1863. What's the pre-Yellowstone?
That's the one with Harrison Ford.
Yeah, I bought that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I like it. I kind of like it because it's I kind of like that one because it's a clash. It's a clash of the new and the old. So like Harrison Ford and all his people are still riding around on horses, and people are driving cars around and shit.
Isn't there one that takes place that's like a prohibition one?
Yeah, it's this time for it. Kind of, people, Harrison Ford, whenever there's like a gunfight, all his guys are pulling out,
Quigley
lever actions and fucking cowboy pistols, and the bad guys got Thompson submachine guns and shit.
So were those the revenuers?
No, it's just it's a different time. You think about that time frame. People with money and power could get away with a lot more things. I mean, not that they don't get away with shit now, but
it's harder to get away with stuff.
Kind of, maybe. Maybe kind of. I feel
like
a
lot of it is people just aren't aware that.
I feel like
this records everything. Like there's people that don't think that.
Yeah, that's true. But I feel like there's a level of. Rich that. Gets away with a lot of shit. I mean, when we think of Epstein Island, and all the people that went to Epstein Island, and I still see the memes where they're like, publish the list. The list is out there. Mm-hmm. If you want to see who went to Epstein's Island, the list is out there. You can see it. The issue is, in this country, we have a level of prosecution, right? The prosecutors have to be willing to prosecute somebody for a crime. And if all those people are on the list, there's no one above them it's not like there's a fucking Secret Service marshal system that's set up in a basement somewhere where they're like, oh,
I like how they've spun.
Uber rich are doing this crazy shit. We need to arrest them all.
I like how they've spun the whole Epstein thing. They just talk about it out in the open now, and they're like, he was a Mossad agent, and he had, he manipulated all these people. No, they were fucking children.
Well, again, he may have not have been a Mossad agent.
Yeah, he was probably CIA.
He may not have been a Mossad agent, but somebody was using that facility to get dirt on other people to manipulate how they operated in the world. That's the only way.
That doesn't mean they weren't criminal in it themselves, though.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean.
But that's how it's being, yeah.
No, it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if he's it doesn't matter if Epstein was a fucking board certified CIA agent.
Yeah, why haven't they released the Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, fucking.
It doesn't matter if he was.
Where's that at? Because they were still the
committing
people
crimes.
that put her in jail were also complacent in the crime. They were involved in the crimes.
I'm surprised she's still alive.
Maybe she's not. I mean, I don't believe that Epstein's dead.
Nah, Epstein's dead. They had to kill his.
Do you know that Bin Laden was a CIA agent?
Well, yeah, Bin Laden.
Was in the United States. His name was Jim something.
We gave.
Yes.
All the.
CIA agent.
The reality is all the training and equipment that he got from us.
Yes. Went to United States schools.
Yeah. Lived
in the United States. The whole fucking deal. We actually
that's not royalty Saudi Arabia uncommon. Like
Correct.
most of their kids, I mean, probably all of their kids come and school here at one point in time or another.
Yeah, we actually relocated his family when all that shit happened. Put him on U.S. military aircraft and flew them out.
When you say relocated his family, the problem is when you're talking about Bin Laden, it's an extended family, and so when we're talking about they were just flying Bin Laden's out. He was not here in the country.
Correct. No,
Yeah,
that's
they were just,
correct.
They were
Correct.
just flying the Bin Laden extended, like his dad and his brother, and they were just flying them out of the country because they were afraid of the reprisals that might happen to them.
We had some, I don't know what nationality they are, some Middle Eastern dudes that ran some gas stations here in town. And when the towers dropped, they were flying American. They fucking fat America. We love America. We're not with those guys.
Right.
Like, don't stop coming and doing business. Like, they're very patriotic. I remember James telling me that. So are you aware that Newsom's here in town?
And if, by the way, if they're running a gas station, they're pretty American.
Yeah, and dude, I wish the gas station has been shut down for 10 years. It's still vacant. It's right over here. It used to be a British Petroleum, but man, they had the best gyros. Best gyro I ever had in my life was there.
What's Gavin Newsom doing here?
Oh, he's here for the red flag laws that they're having an emergency session today in
whatever.
Nashville. Our fucking governor of Nashville is super fucking got to get this thing passed over the Tranifesto shooter thing, which has never been released to the public.
And guess what? They wouldn't red flag her anyways.
They didn't red flag her.
That's what I'm saying.
They did not,
but if the law was there,
Not only that,
they wouldn't have done
they
it.
did not red flag her.
So whatever. It's dumb. And fuck, if Gavin, here's the thing.
Bill, what's
it could be-
our governor's name? Is it Bill Lee?
Yeah, it could be feed the homeless. If Gavin Newsom's behind it, not only is it not going to work, it's going to cost way too much money, and all he's doing is lining his pockets.
Well, I can tell you what's
there's a
happening.
goddamn way right now that he's making money.
Well, he's getting publicity right now.
Yeah, but
because they're going to roll him out for president.
they can roll him out all he wants. He's a turd. Nobody's going to vote for him. Like California's not even going to vote for him.
Yeah, where's their boy Beto O'Rourke at?
Oh well, Beta doesn't know anything about transportation, so he's got to be in hiding.
I wonder if he's here to take the AR-15s.
Whatever.
So do you think they're going to pass this red flag shit?
Are they going to pass it? I want to have faith. I want to have faith in my new home state of Tennessee that they are not going to pass it. But I kind of think they will. I kind of think they will. I think they will pass it. The question will be how it's implemented. Because there are already red flag laws around the country, and the implementation has been so terrible that it's kind of like
What they really need to do is just implement, and they need to have a background check or something.
what, for the purchase of firearms?
Yes,
They have that already.
I'm well aware of it.
They have that already.
That was sarcasm.
Um,
But your average fucking person on the street doesn't seem to know that somehow.
I mean, your average person just hears.
I
what
think
they
a lot
hear,
of them
so-
found out in the last couple of years, though, when all the other side went to buy guns.
Yeah, when they went to buy guns and they're like, I have to do what? I thought we could just buy them out of the trunk of a car. Nope, sorry, you can't do that, guys.
What about the gun show loophole, though?
Yeah, there's no gun show loophole either. You still, if you buy it from a reputable dealer, you still have to do paperwork. I mean, whatever. There's too many battles to be fought, and the next battle is going to be worse than the last one. I feel like the reality is,
Isn't it all being?
we have a great Supreme Court.
That's
and
what I was gonna say.
The Supreme Court is really killing all this shit.
So is because I keep seeing these little clips on these gun law YouTube channels, right? I see these clips saying that the ATF's over with, the ATF's being
No.
but when you click on it, it's all clickbait.
It is clickbait, but the ATF is not over, right? What's going on is, again, we're going back to Chevron deference, okay? What's going on is the Congress of the United States of America has failed in its duties for probably 20 years, maybe even longer. They do not do their fucking jobs. Democrat or Republican, none of them do their jobs. And because they don't do their jobs, all the three-letter agencies, forget about, it's not necessarily ATF, it's all the three-letter agencies, have been left to their own devices, meaning they have been interpreting the laws that are already on the books in order to fit some modern problem. So they're interpreting the laws in order to fit some modern problem. They do not have the authority to do that. They don't have the authority to do that. They have all the authority to enforce.
But they're still putting people in jail with that.
Again, that's what all these Chevron deference trials are about. Is they don't have the authority to do that. They never have had the authority to do that, but the president of the United States, not this guy because he's not president, all the former presidents, all the former Congress has allowed these agencies to use interpretation to fit whatever narrative that current president has or current Congress has. So what's happening is the Supreme Court rightly should say this is completely unconstitutional, and the only thing that these three-letter agencies can do is enforce law as it has been written by Congress. So if ATF loses every single one of these cases, the trigger case, the pistol brace case.
Is the pistol brace thing null and void now? Can you have pistol brace?
Well,
pistols, can you still buy them?
No.
Can you put your brace on there?
It's in a
state of limbo.
It's in a state of limbo. If you belong to certain organizations, then technically you have a
because that organization sued for
is
that.
Suing, right? Technically, you have
so it's okay for them, but not for everybody else.
Well, that's
in the world.
that's one of the things they're working on right now, on whether it's going to be a national injunction or it's going to be just those organizations that are suing. But what I'm saying is, the ATF could lose every single case that comes before the court this year. The ATF still has a job. They just have to enforce the laws that are already on the books. So, if Bill Nye the Science Guy is in California making machine guns,
I think he hates guns.
If Bill Nye the Science Guy is in California making machine guns, I think he does make machine guns. And the ATF goes and raids him for that's within the.
Are you serious? He makes machine guns?
Yes, I'm sure Bill Nye the Science Guy makes machine guns.
I thought he's anti-gun.
No, he makes machine guns.
Does he like guns?
And then when the ATF goes and raids Bill Nye the Science Guy,
does he like your freedom to have guns?
No, I don't think he likes my freedom to have guns. That's why he's making machine guns.
I thought he's like a never Trumper.
Anyways, that's well within the purview of ATF's. That's well within the purview of so ATF has a job. The problem is you have all these knuckleheads that are trying to interpret and create more laws to make more people illegal, or more, not necessarily making more people illegal, but putting more people in a position where they are going to be felons, which that's not the job of the ATF. So, I mean, again, there are hundreds and hundreds of legit laws that Congress has written that are etched in stone, boop, 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 that require no interpretation that the ATF can go out and do, right? They can go out and execute those.
Sure, there's plenty of people to harass.
There are plenty of people to harass legally within the confines of their preview. So, again, even if they lose all these cases, it's not like the ATF is going to go away. The only way the ATF goes away is if we get a president that cuts their funding and they don't exist anymore. So, again, they can lose every single one of these cases. There's plenty of things for the ATF to do.
Have you seen the news about the IRS?
What, running around with guns and shit?
One of them
shot himself. Yeah,
no, didn't another agent shot that agent? I never did see footage or anything.
It was a gun range. I'm sure it was just because, again,
it wasn't like waving at a bee or.
Again, you have this mindset, right? You have this mindset in the current left government structure. You have this mindset in the current left government structure where they're like, hey, we can just take all these lefties and put them in all these positions of power and give them guns and everything's going to be okay. It's not okay. There's a reason why.
That's how I picture a lot of the current military.
Nah, I mean, it's still because, again, who joins the military? It's not. Yeah. Are there a bunch of woke officers that are coming in because they're coming from college campuses, yes, there are a bunch of woke officers that are coming in the military, but they're still they're still recruiting from the same place. So their soldiers are still the same. The soldiers are still coming from middle of America. And yes, do those soldiers hear, the woke officer saying, we're all going to do, instead of going to the range today, we're going to do gender studies. And they go, fuck, okay, at least I don't have to clean my rifle today.
They are having lockdowns, or they're not going to?
Oh, I wouldn't put it past the government to do lockdowns.
Do you think people are going to go along with it?
Okay, I think that you're going to have major. It'll probably fall between party lines, and so you'll have major metropolitans like Los Angeles will fucking lock down, and San Francisco will lock down. They can't clean up the poop, but they'll lock down. You'll have major places, and it's so funny when they say, it's so funny when you say lockdown. Like the only people they lock down are the people that actually have jobs.
Yep.
Like they're not over there locking down the homeless people. So basically you'll have woke areas that will lock down, but I think it'll be a lot smaller than it was last time.
Do you think Walmart's going to have the mask Nazi up front there? Like, you can't come in here without the mask.
It just depends on what kind of
you're going to have places requiring that you have your shots again.
It just depends on what kind of no, because they lost all those court battles. I know people don't pay attention. That's the thing. It doesn't matter what the fucking government does right now. What matters is what happens in the courts. And they lost all those court battles. So, like the nurses in Texas, they got fucking $45 million awarded to them from that one hospital. Because you can't require that. That's some Nazi shit right there. Like if you're running around saying force everybody to get the jab, you are the Nazi. Adolf Hitler would put his arms around you and embrace you like you were one of his own. That's some Nazi shit. Again, it's all going to depend on the reality is that I will say this, just like I said before, it depends on how bad it is. If it's legit,
right?
If
then
it's
they're not going to have to put it forth.
If it's a legit 5%, if it's a legit, like even I'm going to go low. If they're saying 40%, that's the end of the world, guys. It is literally the end of the world if 40% of the population dies. And that's for everybody. That's Bill Gates. That's all of them. It's the end of the world because the people who survive that are going to be roaming the planet like fucking the Roman legions. Anyways, but if it's a 5%, right? If it's 5%, that's bad. That is legitly bad. That is the National Guard not going door to door and making sure everybody has shots. That's the National Guard driving around picking up dead bodies. So at 5%, if you see black trash bags taped all up, sitting out on the curb, you're going to quarantine yourself. You're not going to, I don't need the government to go, hey, you probably should stay inside.
Once the world's over.
Yeah, once the world's over.
Once you walk out and your neighbor's houses all have the X's on them and shit, you realize they came around, and there's tons of survival fiction, right, where these viruses are killing people, and they come pick you up, so they're going to take the survivors to the stadium, right, because we have a booster or whatever. But really they just kind of use them for slave labor, and they end up just fucking offing them or whatever. But every now and then there's somebody's like, just hides, right? So he's still in the neighborhood. I think that was actually in that Cordyceps show. What was that last show?
Yeah. He hides in his
right. Where would you go once you come out? Where would you go?
I'd stay home.
Stay home.
Yeah. I mean, if I would just stay home after
you wouldn't go to the Walmart, see if you could get some more supplies or something. You wouldn't go. You wouldn't go looking for more guns.
It depends on how long and how bad.
Let's say 6 months afterwards.
6 months? Oh yeah, I would cruise around. First place the reality is I would take the
Unimog.
No, I wouldn't take the Unimog.
Too loud.
No, the reality is what I would do is
electric.
I would go right on down, not the electric bike. 6 months. There's no fucking power.
Yeah, no, you have solar.
I go right down here to this National Guard Army.
I've already been there.
I go right down here to this National Guard Army.
I would have already beat you there.
Well, you can only drive one at a time, John. And so I would take the necessary fuel that I have planned for, and I would fill that thing up, and then I would drive around in that. I'd just drive around, run over people's cars that are probably in the way anyways.
What would you drive around in?
They have the new, it's not an MRAP, it's the JST something, whatever. It's a, Ford.
Did you hear Frisella say he bought an MRAP?
Did he?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can buy them. The problem is MRAPs are super expensive. You might as well, like at that level, when you're buying when you have a choice, an MRAP is easier to drive, but when you're talking about spending that kind of money, tank.
But you can drive an MRAP.
You can drive it. I promise you, when Frisella is talking about driving the MRAP, he's talking about the same time I would be like, Main Street.
He said he's having a fucking giant plow fabricated for the front of it.
So it's just more cost effective. Not fuel wise. Of course, the MRAP is going to get a snooch. Now, when I say a snooch, I mean a snooch, better gas mileage, but just a snooch. But I'm not going anywhere. Like it's not going to be like those movies where, you get in the vehicle and you feel like you have to drive to Denver or some shit. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to drive around here, find neat shit, whatever. It'll be like double tap. I can't think. I'll just go around and I'll collect things that I think should be saved for prosperity. And
are you talking about zombie rules?
Yeah, zombie rules.
Rule number 1, cardio.
I'll just go and
they made a second one of those?
Yeah.
Did you see it?
I've seen all of them. I think there's a 3 too.
Was it good?
No, they're not very good. I mean, the first one was good because it was new, but the other ones are it's the same stuff. So I would go, just collect things that I think should be saved for prosperity, and then. But again, even at 5%, there's still a lot of people. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not probably like I would think that even if. Because everybody thinks it's not going to be them, so there's a good chance that I'll be dead anyways. I'm old. I catch a bug. I might not make it, so there's a good chance I won't be around anyways. Because everybody thinks it's not them, and that's the.
But I think even like the survivors, right? When they
problem.
come around and collect up the people that didn't get sick, they do it under the guise, and some believe they're probably doing it to help those people. But what's going to end up if you're walking around and you're not sick, they're going to want to draw your blood, and they're going to want to do all kinds of shit to you.
When the guard is driving around, or the federal troops, when federal troops are driving around with trucks to pick people up, those dudes that are picking people up, they know the end results. If the end results is, a hot shower and some food and maybe a cot in a sweaty tent with a bunch of other people, or a burn pit in fucking Texas somewhere, those guys that are picking up, they know. Like they already know. It's not. They're not in no way, shape, or form are the dudes who are doing. The dudes who are doing that, the train conductors that took the people to Auschwitz knew where they were going. They know. So
don't get in the back of the truck.
I don't see how. Okay, if your situation is desperately hopeless, then get in the back of the truck, because it might turn out to be a hot shower and food. But if you don't need assistance, like if you've done your due diligence and you're sitting there and you're like, I still got 10 cases of MREs. Why get in the back of the truck? Why risk it?
Right.
Why risk that scenario? Stay where you're at. If you don't, it boils down to this. Let's say it's the Red Cross and they show up and they have all supplies. If you don't need it, don't take it. If you don't need the assistance, then don't take it. Give the assistance to the people who actually need it. So same thing. You got all these Brandles in the world that are sitting at home on one box of Twinkies, and then the world ends, and they're like, I've just ate my last Twinkie. What am I going to do? Let him go. Let him get on the bus and go to wherever the Twinkie factory is.
You don't think they're going to try to make everybody get on the bus?
Yes. yes, they will try and make everybody get on the bus, but you have to configure yourself in a way that makes you not busable. Whether that's a 222nd tactical air conditioning National Guard uniform with an M4 with 13 painted on the stock. We just checked this house, boss. There ain't nobody in there. They don't know. They don't. I mean, because when you're talking about that type of scenario, you're talking about lots of groups, right? Lots of groups. Like the reality is, like when the FBI or the National Guard was zooming around Louisiana during Katrina, they were taking guns from people. But I promise you that the U.S. Marshals, the FBI, even the National Guard, they didn't, when they saw 4 National Guard guys walking out of a building, spray paint an X on it, they didn't stop and go, "Hey, are you guys actually in the National Guard?" They didn't stop. They were like, "Oh shit!" They took care of that building, and they just motor on. Because there's so much. Even when you think about Katrina and you think about Louisiana, it is just one city, but again, it's so much area that you have to cover. It's so much area you have to cover that it becomes almost impossible to cover it. So it's all about zippity doodah, flying all over the place. And if you see a sheriff's car parked on the corner and 2 deputies sitting in the car, you ain't going to go over there and be like, "Let me see your badge number." You're going to be like, "Oh shit, I don't even need to go over there." Or you might zip by and go, "Do you guys need anything?" Right? You maybe you'll zip by and say, "Do you need anything?" But again, it's all about not creating a situation where you're going to be like, where
they're going to question
you. So,
did you hear about the threat on Trump and his son Barron's life?
no, I didn't hear about it, but I'm sure it happens all the time.
All right, so they actually arrested a lady for it. She was making threats against Trump and was going to kill his son or something. But weirdly, they did come and arrest her, but they didn't do it in the night. They didn't do it with an MRAP, and they didn't send a SWAT team. It's just weird. So, crazy liberal school teacher.
It'd be amazing? It'd be amazing if they could figure out who killed the chef at the Obama's house. That'd be amazing. Amazing.
I was just putting that together because a couple of weeks ago they came in with a SWAT team pre-dawn and fucking smoked that dude. That 300-pound old man, 75-year-old man. They killed him fucking dead.
Yeah, well, sometimes that happens. Sometimes it happens.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like I'm very pro-police, but I'm very anti-military. I'm very, they don't need MRAPs. They don't need Kevlar helmets. They don't need any of that shit. If you say civil society, they don't need any of that shit.
Are you aware that I went to a city council meeting in Dixon a couple days ago? So, would you think that in Dixon people probably have chickens?
Kind of, yeah.
What do you think the chicken guidelines should be?
I don't know. No chickens in city limits?
But why?
I mean, because chickens can be a problem.
Okay. So they're trying to change and add more stricter guidance on chickens in city limits in Dixon.
Yeah.
To have chickens now in Dixon, what they're trying to pass is you have to have 1 acre of property to have chickens.
Okay.
You're only allowed to have 4 chickens.
Okay.
You have to pay $25 fee, and they have to come out and inspect your property.
For a year?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I would assume it's probably a yearly fee, like a maybe not. I mean, you just register your dog once probably. So our friend Dawn is the head of this West or Middle Tennessee Homesteaders Alliance. So she was going to speak at Dixon, and I've never been to one of these, and I figured, well, Dixon's pretty fucking close to us. If they can pass that there,
right,
they can probably pass it here. So we just went to hear this and kind of support. 4 people showed up to speak. City council had no idea and didn't seem very how dare these peasants show up here.
Of course.
You had the mayor sits actually higher than the others, and then it looks like 6 flank him here and 6 flank him here, and it's kind of curved.
Right.
So they showed up to talk, and she has this prepared speech she's going to read, and they only let her speak for 3 minutes. She can only speak for 3 minutes. So the other lady gets up, and she's like, talks for a minute. She's like, I concede my time to her. And he's like, nope, you're not doing that. We're not doing this bullshit. Fuck you guys. So it was just like, it was eye-opening to watch this. They didn't acknowledge her. They didn't fucking look at her. They acted totally perturbed that anybody was there. 2 cops, as we walked in, they're doing metal detectors and shit. He's like, I'm like, I have a knife. He's like, I don't care as long as you don't have a gun. We don't care. It was just kind of eye-opening, and they're like, yeah, we're going to vote on this in 90 days. So whatever. And while people were speaking, he's fucking hitting this fucking gavel for probably 50% of the words that were spoken. He's hitting this fucking gavel, so you can't even hear it. And then he's like, okay, no further business, adjourned. Get the fuck out, basically. And then I would assume that they went on and had their meeting without anybody there.
So
I looked it up. This guy,
your city council.
This guy has been mayor for over 20 years there. So just
I mean,
kind of eye-opening.
Again, you get what you vote for.
I suppose so. I suppose you do. Yeah, I guess you do.
I mean, again.
So all their little cars out front say code enforcement. It's not like inspection. It's literally code, and like, we're going to come out and fine you.
Right. So
you're going to apply for this thing, and they're going to come out and inspect and find more bullshit to fucking fine you for, I would assume. Like, we had a code inspector dude here. I don't fall under that because I'm in county. I'm not in city limits. Mm-hmm. But it was the same thing. James always made fun of him. He's like, yeah, drives around in a fucking fake cop car and just a turd, always just taxing motherfuckers and making people's lives difficult. So just kind of,
that's it. But I mean, that's
super irritating.
That's city. That's just the problem.
Yeah, you give them a little bit, they're going to figure out.
No, but I mean, the problem for Dixon is Dixon's been a country town for a long time, and Dixon is now the Temecula of Nashville.
So they were pointing out. So of all places, Dixon is trying to put in laws that are stricter than what Franklin has in the city of Franklin. You can actually have more chickens in the city of Franklin. They don't, it's not as, it just, you have these people who have been there. And you had 3 of the ladies that stood up are like, I came from Chicago, and we have more lax chicken regulation in Chicago than what you're trying to pass.
But I am sure that this has more to do with the mayor's neighbor who has 5 chickens that go in his front yard and scratch up his whatever. I mean, I'm sure.
So what's the way to fight it?
Well,
something else they're trying to put in there is you can't have any.
I don't see how you. When you have 4 people show up, I don't see how you can fight it.
You can't have any large animals. You have to. You can't have any large animals within 1,000 feet of your property line. Large animals are considered to be sheep, goat, cow, horse. Right? Yeah. People already have those. They're not having any of these regulations on dogs.
They'll grandfather that.
Correct.
They'll grandfather the horse people in because horse people have money, and that's.
I would suspect this. Yeah, I would suspect this is about being able to fucking snatch that property up. If you can't have horses there anymore, somebody's not going to buy that property. Now we can put in fucking apartments.
Maybe, because again, the problem for Dixon, if you live in Dixon and you have a fucking horse or chickens, is it's not that town anymore. And that's because of Nashville. Nashville is pushing people out at a high rate because it is becoming gentrified. And so people are having to move out to Dixon. So the reality is they do need apartments in Dixon. It's just the problem of growth.
That means it's coming here too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Go drive to Humboldt, get on the 70 and go west. That section, I don't know if you remember it, but in Trenton, there was a section of freeway that you go around. Mm-hmm. Right? You basically go around this section of freeway. I always wanted to drive down that part of the freeway that's blocked off. That was closed. But they're working that freeway right now. So, the fear of 70 becoming a 4-lane road, it's happening. It's happening, and when that happens, all that does is it gives. All that does is it allows people. It allows people who have to work in the city but can't afford to live in the city to move out, and that's what they want.
Yeah, and that's what the cities want because it raises the property taxes.
Yeah, it raises the property taxes, and it raises the
more money to steal from people.
More money to steal from people, but again, you get what you vote for. And if the guy's been there for 20 years, Jesus Christ, he's stealing so much money from you.
Yeah, I mean that's where they had all the feds in there investigating over all the interdiction stuff.
I'm just saying, if he's been there for 20 years, he knows all the fucking scams, and he's stealing so much money from you.
Yeah, everybody got up and spoke. They're like, state your address, and all I could think is why? Because you're going to go and fucking harass these people and see what other problems you can cause for them.
It would be badass if everybody used his address.
That would have been awesome.
That'd have been badass if they'd have just started stating his address, and
they should all buy really big Komatsu bulldozers.
I mean,
that's what I asked. I'm like, should I wear my Killdozer shirt?
Sometimes the problem is when you're talking about government like that, they don't care. Like even Killdozer, right? That city council,
yeah,
they were up and running the next week.
Yeah,
nothing changed. Like they didn't go, maybe we should have toned it down a little bit. Maybe we should have been a little better city council. No, they went, guess whose property is up for sale now?
Yeah, and they all have security details now.
Yeah, so no, they don't. Once you get into government, most of them are crooked. It's just the nature of the beast. Because why would you want to be a politician? The only reason to be a politician is so you can steal from people. Because they're not doing any good. They don't do any good. You can't think of a program. You can't think of a successful program that the government, even local governments, have run. They don't have successful programs.
Try to identify something in your life that's been made better because of government for you.
They don't have successful programs.
All right, we're going to jump off here, guys.
We Pulling
the Thread podcast episode 38. And we're going to jump over to Patreon. Costs $5 to be a Patreon member. We have a dozen or so questions people have asked, so we're going to do a video for Patreon. These are the giveaways. The next giveaway we're doing on Patreon is $5. Yes, you have to do that yes, I know it's another platform, and they're making us do another $5. That's what it is. It's $5. We're going to give away these shooter kits. We're going to give one kit away. You get to choose whether you want woodland or tiger stripe. It's going to be a stacked micro rig, a FUPA dangler, a padded H set, and a hydration carrier. We're going to assign, there'll be a number for every member. We're going to use a random number generator, just like in the last one, and we're going to pick a winner.
Just a reminder for when you decide to pick which one. Stab proof, bullet resistant. So stab proof.
Which one's better?
So AK spike bayonet kind of thing, and then bullet resistant.
Which one will stop a shovel?
Oh, definitely that'll stop a shovel.
That one won't.
No, this is kind of a more velocity type driven thing. Shovel's moving too slow.
All right, guys. So we will see you over on Patreon.